So, I want to take a minute to address a question I get probably most often as a physical therapist, right? So, the question is somebody comes to me and they say, all right, so is this movement bad? Fill in the blank at whatever movement that is. They say, are deadlifts bad for me? Is running bad for me? Is, you know, take your pick. I've pretty much heard it all, and I'm never ceased to be surprised at what movement that person has chosen or has heard from somebody that needs to be avoided at all costs. And so, what I encourage people to try and reframe how they think is that the movement itself is not bad. For most people, one, it's how they do the movement, and two, it's the dosing that they do that movement in. And then three, it's what kind of movements are they doing along with that particular movement or exercise, right? So we talked about the first thing, how they do it, right? So, if you're doing a deadlift poorly, then yes, that deadlift is bad for your back. But if you're doing a deadlift properly, then that's one of the most beneficial things that you can do for your back, right? If most of the time I am trying to get my back pain patients eventually to be deadlifting, right? Because that is going to strengthen that posterior chain. It's going to strengthen the core. It's going to strengthen all those things that we want to strengthen. Um, the second thing we talked about, right, that I mentioned is how much of that thing that are you doing, right? So is your body able to handle the particular dosing that you're giving it for that exercise? So oftentimes this is with running. Maybe initially you are running too much, right? And so your body's not ready to handle that kind of volume. And so you got to take things back a level, and we need to slowly ramp up the amount of running that you're doing. Or maybe, take your pick of exercise. Maybe you're doing a lot of overhead movements and it's just wearing on the shoulder. And we need to just rein that in a little bit and let your body recover so that you can then handle returning to that activity. So looking at the dosing. And then that third thing that we talked about was what kind of movements are you doing surrounding that movement? So are all you doing are push-ups all day, every day? And then is that your main form of strengthening the shoulder? Well, if that's the case, right, we need to balance that out. We need to add some pulling motions in so that your shoulder is getting strengthened on both sides or on all sides. So we want to round out that program a little bit. Your body has an amazing ability to handle massive amounts of volume, but if that volume is unidirectional, eventually that is going to wear on the body, and that is what's going to start breaking things down. It's not the push up that's inherently bad. It's not the running that's inherently bad. It's the way that we do things, the volume that we do things, and what kind of things we're doing in addition to those movements. And that's just, from a basic movement perspective, right? And this is ignoring, all other things such as nutrition, sleep, stress levels, right? So all those play into how your body responds to a particular movement. And so if we can reframe the way we think and not be afraid of particular movements, we've got a much better shot at being able, down the road to eventually get back to that type of movement and allow your body to move through all the planes that it's meant to move through. We don't want to encourage fear of particular movements, right? We want to let that body be able to move in all directions, and that's what a healthy body is one that, can handle all the different directions that it needs to over the course of a given day. So we want to make use of all the muscle groups, all the movement patterns to create a healthy life. So is this particular movement, fill in the blank, bad? Nope. But let's dig a little deeper and let's see what might be, causing that thought process. Hope this helps.